welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 4, Episode 11.
Or Episode 81 if you're counting.
I've got an image of one of our news articles up. Usually that wouldn't be there. That's gonna go away for just a little bit. We're not talking about that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about other stuff.
Okay, so let me just make sure that you guys can, in fact, hear us. You seem to be able to. Okay, that's good.
That's good?
Yeah,
Alright,
that
okay,
was the
so
reason,
everybody's here.
That was the reason for me to restart the stream, but thankfully I was able to notice that just before the show actually had to start.
Hooray!
Alright, I did it. Yeah.
So, what's going on?
What is going on? Is there anything, like, we took a good restful week, I think, since MagFest.
Yes, it's been needed.
Yeah, absolutely
Get sleep
needed.
back on track.
So, now it's time to finish cleaning up videos and stuff.
Yes.
Get the movie put online. Someone actually did put out video footage of the panel from the Farewell Famicom Writer event. It does not include the movie. It does include some audience reaction, which I think is very, very cool.
Yes.
Very cool to watch and witness. And listening to people give testimony on Justin Carmichael as a person was sounded like it was very needed for people.
Now, admittedly, it's a bit long, but if you guys want, it's over on YouTube right now. If you just follow us on Twitter, we've reblogged that and retweeted that a couple of times, so you guys can have the opportunity to watch that for yourselves. As far as that goes, once we clean up the actual movie file, hopefully within about a month we should have it ready for web release.
Right.
Hopefully.
So, I want to, as always, thank the contributors from patreon.com/MarsGirl. In fact, I want to thank Samuel Richardson, who, he always helps us out with the Nerf War and such.
Yes, absolutely.
And he has become a new contributor as well, and will be receiving a, request review in the very near future. So, you can look forward to learning more about that in the near future. I just need to make sure I can find a way to get... Years ago, he gave me a VHS copy of this really old dubbed anime that I can never remember the name of it. And
it's
it
that
never,
old.
It never aired on TV. It just... had a couple of VHS releases and that was about it. And years ago he gave me this VHS tape and I'd never done anything with it. So now I gotta figure out how to actually get it digital.
Well, it's called the Salvation Army and the electronics section where they have old VCRs. We'll just find one.
No, having a VCR isn't the problem. I've now got to...
Oh, you mean like ripping the footage?
Yeah, so either I just rip the footage or I'm just gonna download it, or like I'm not...
If you can find it, if it's that obscure.
Yeah, it is pretty friggin' obscure, so, we'll see about that.
Let's see, we loaded the commentary last week for...
Yeah, for...
Justice League War.
Justice League War. If you guys are our $5 and up Patreon contributors, you guys are seeing that commentary for free. It is an MP3 downloadable, or you can listen to it in your browser. Commentary on patreon.com/MarsGirl, and along with your own copy of the DC animated movie Justice League War, you can listen to us also talk about the movie along with the movie as you watch the movie.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we're hoping to do the sequel this week that just came out, Justice League Throne of Atlantis.
Yeah, which was also a pretty good movie.
Yes.
Pretty good movie.
It was good. It had different issues than Justice League War did, but I guess we can talk more about that in the post-show.
Both had their issues, but their issues were different from one another, I think. So, that having been said, I think we have time now to talk about what our stories are going to be, right?
Yes.
Okay, so as you guys saw a little bit ago, we do have a story to talk about as far as Sony Online Entertainment is concerned. They have sold themselves to another company known as Columbus Nova and have changed their name to Daybreak Game Company. So there's going to be all kinds of discussion on, well, what led to this and what will they be doing now? So stick around for that.
Second story is going to be the Titans, the Teen Titans live-action show that's going to be on TNT, has solidified what their lineup of heroes is going to be, and we're going to talk more about that, whether or not it works, and why certain other characters aren't going to show up.
And finally, to the surprise of no one, Radio Shack has gone bankrupt. I think what was more surprising was that they stayed alive for as long as they did.
Right.
So, why bankruptcy now? And what happens now?
Yes.
Yes.
Those are things we're going to talk about later.
But what are we talking about now?
Right now, we're going to talk about my favorite part is the follow-ups. Yeah.
We need, like, a bumper and some music.
See, I'm fine with, like, taking the Craig Ferguson route where it's some stupid little video we make with, like, a $5 budget and then just throw to that real quick and then come back.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
We might work on that. So, one of the top things we're going to talk about, the Superb Owl show was this weekend.
Uh-huh.
And as such, they have commercials when you're not looking at the superb owls. And one of the commercials was for your favorite Jurassic World.
No.
So we got a little bit more of a little taste of what this movie is going to have in it. And sure enough, even though we're saying, no, it's not going to be that, it's not going to be that, that's Chris Pratt dealing with trained raptors.
Yep.
Trained raptors, ladies and gentlemen.
They tried to tell us that that wasn't what it was going to be, and yet that's exactly what that commercial has portrayed. He is friends to the raptors, and they're going to go on motorcycle adventures together.
Yeah, he takes them out on rides, he gives them treats. They all have names. I think they're Huey, Dewey, and Groot, if I'm not mistaken.
We have no idea what
we have no idea.
We're
man, I hope he didn't name them. I really hope he didn't name them.
Oh man, if you start giving them names, then you start assigning them like personalities. And
what if they have personalities?
Well, you start to personify them, and like then you're treating them like they're pets. And
yeah, but raptors as pets, while that sounds like an awesome idea.
Oh, it is for like a completely different kind of movie.
Right, exactly.
Completely different
but
kind of
when we're
movie.
talking about the world of Jurassic Park, or rather Jurassic Park
World.
Jurassic World, yes. It just doesn't ring right.
I can't.
And then, of course, we've got the little tidbit at the very end where the kids are there stuck in the little hamster ball, and
I was like, you remember what I said about that? Like, oh, gee, that doesn't look like it's gonna be dangerous to be around dinosaurs in at all. I wonder, like, because you always saw the two kids were in the ball, and I'm like, huh, that sure does look a lot like two kids inside of a Jeep.
Yeah, doesn't it? Or an SUV.
Or an SUV. And that's what they threw back to.
That's what they're throwing back to.
Now, granted, throwbacks to the first movie aren't so bad. I just didn't like that it was, like, super predictable, you know?
Yes. I agree with that.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So, moving on to other news, we got our first taste of Brandon Routh's Atom suit, which is going to be featured on Arrow. And admittedly, the producers have said we are trying very hard to not make him look like a certain other technical superhero with an armored suit who shall not be named Iron Man. But they've managed to keep some things intact. He's still got the atom symbol on his forehead. He's got the red A on his chest, more or less.
It did kind of look like it came out of the upcoming Ant-Man movie, right?
A little bit. I get what they're trying to do with it. And for the most part, I actually like Brandon Routh as an actor. I think he's doing a great job as Ray Palmer. The only thing I would have argued about is just the visor there. I would have done without a visor and just given him a straight-up mask. That's my only complaint.
I don't have much to say about it. I'm not thrilled with the way it looks, but that's just for aesthetic reasons.
Yeah, aesthetically.
Not necessarily because I'm choosing, like, comic over what it looks like now, because, quite frankly, I don't know what it looks like.
Well, because the thing about it is, I get it. They're trying to restructure him because he doesn't have his notable shrinking powers. I get that. But as such, you still think, your identity might want to be kept secret, just maybe, and you might not want to wear a clear, visor where people can clearly see your face.
Well, hey, Superman doesn't worry about that.
Yeah, but at least...
He just lets people call him Clark right in front of cops. I mean, because he's stupid like that. But nobody knows. Nobody... What Clark Kent?
I don't want to get into that right now. Man of Steel arguments. No, I'm not doing it. Ain't gonna do it. So, moving on to other news. To put it very mildly, it's been a very wild weekend for Ricardo Medina. most of you who follow...
Which Power Ranger series was he from?
He was the Red Ranger in Wild Force.
So you used Wild on purpose.
Yes.
You are a tool, sir.
And
you
how?
are an absolute tool.
Well, point being, he was also in Power Ranger Samurai as the bad guy there. Point being, he had a very interesting weekend being accused of murder.
See, this is why I told you before the show started, I'm not too interested in talking about
Well, no,
the
the thing about it is he's been cleared of all charges.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, he's fine. They let him go.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I wasn't just going to cover the story if it didn't have an upside. He's been cleared.
Because I was gonna say, you know what? I don't even want to speculate about this because we weren't there. We
No, we weren't there. It's just it's not every day you wake up, look on Facebook, and you know how Facebook is. They offer you, hey, here's a couple of stories you might be interested in. Oh, there's a plane crash. That's terrible. Oh, measles outbreak. That's terrible. Red Ranger accused of murder. That is also very terrible. Like, they picked the most terrible stories to feed you first thing in the morning. Why do they do that?
Because first thing in the morning, you didn't know these things happened.
I know. Well, hopefully, nothing further comes of this and he'll, be exonerated, but all things considered, I feel bad for the person who is dead and their family. That much is terrible.
Well, yeah, of course.
But, that's just one of the weird little things you get privy to once you're looking up stuff for a show like ours.
So, what happened? Did he make bail? Did he...
Apparently, the prosecutors, after further examination, they gave it to the district attorney, and they didn't file any charges. The case was rejected. He didn't get taken to court. So they let him go.
Oh, all right.
Open and shut case. Apparently. So good for him. In other news, there is apparently another attempt at bringing Astro Boy over here to the U.S., but this time it's going to be live action.
Okay, look, that CG movie...
Alright, so that CG movie...
No, let me talk about this for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Because, what was the name of the studio that's now defunct? Imagi? Imagi? I think it's pronounced Imagi. I don't know. They were from
said
Taiwan
Imagi.
Or something. At the heart of it, it was telling the right story. It did. Hollywood actors are. So, Nicolas Cage being Adam's dad was...
The doctor.
Weird.
It just didn't sound right.
He sounded really, really bad. It was Nicolas Cage, right?
It was Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. It was bad. Otherwise, it felt pretty Americanized, but it covered the story basically correctly. However, I don't think that can be as clearly done in live action. Really, are you going to give a live action boy butt guns? Are you going to give a live action boy butt guns? I mean, I guess the answer could be yes. What does Hollywood not do anymore?
Well, see, the thing about it, again, is that we had Imagi doing this movie the first time, and they were lesser-known studio, and then they get distribution. Here we're kind of dealing with the same thing. A company called Animal Logic Entertainment, and they're primarily a visual effects studio, is going to be handling this.
So they do stuff for other people,
right?
But never do their own stuff.
Right, exactly. They've worked on Days of Future Past, 300, The Matrix, Age of Ultron coming out this summer. Mm-hmm. So their visuals stand up, but they don't have any backing as far as, hey, we've put out these movies on our own.
Yeah.
So that makes me a little worried. In other live-action adaptation news, they're still trying to get Robotech off the ground. I think this is just the noise you make when I talk about live-action anime adaptation now, just...
Because unless it's the Wachowskis doing it, I don't necessarily want to see it, because even I was the crazy person who was like, you know what didn't suck as much as everybody says it did? Speed Racer.
Yeah.
Because
we will defend Speed Racer. We got no problem with that.
Because it looked like a friggin' live-action anime. It looked,
yeah.
And it took directly from the anime, and it took the story and the characters, and it was actually trying to pass these people's names off as Speed and Pops.
And Mom?
Like those are names? Like, I don't know, I just thought it was ludicrous and cartoony because it was based on a cartoon, so, like, leave it alone.
But it was excellent, though.
It was excellent, though. But Robotech, who wants to do this now? Because it's gone through 80 bajillion different hands, and I guess it's still in development hell.
By this point, it's the king of development hell, as far as I'm concerned. It's a group called Hollywood Gang Productions, who've worked with Warner Brothers before. They've got new people working on the screenplay, people...
It was almost, like, page for page accurate. G.I. Joe, the Red Cobra!
Well, see, we went to go see that for my birthday, and that was great because we riffed the movie live.
Yeah,
and that's how that works.
But it wasn't G.I. Joe.
I get that. So...
And Cobra didn't show up, like, as Cobra until way too late.
Yeah, I know. So, yes, there's that. Moving on to other news, you had something about the Final Fantasy 15 demo, you said?
Oh, yeah, so, like, March 17th, right? So that's when Final Fantasy Type 0 HD is supposed to come out for Xbone and the PS Quadruple. And in it, everybody knows that you're gonna get this code for the demo to Final Fantasy 15. It's supposed to be, what, Deska? They pronounce it Deska, but it's spelled D-U-S-C-A-E. Deska episode, something like that.
What the episode? Is that the translation?
No, that's
like, it's not a Japanese pun?
They're making fun of it because it sounds like Deska, but no, it's a made-up word. It's another one of these magical, imaginary Square Enix nouns that I hate. But the argument was, well, it's just gonna be for a code, and they're totally not gonna actually have the demo ready at launch with Type 0 HD. But they are. They are having it live on day of launch for Type 0 HD. So we'll get our first taste of Final Fantasy 15, like, working and in our hands on March 17th. So, who knew?
Square? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess Square knew. I guess Director Tabata knew. Or maybe he was just
No, I can't call him Director let's call him Old Man Tabata. Can we call him Old Man Tabata?
He is Old Man Tabata because, this is the guy who wants to make, like, games for the AARP generation and then make Final Fantasies that are based on the American Civil War. Like, literal things that have come out of this man's mouth.
Yes. I don't think he should be working for Square Enix so much as he should be working for Ubisoft.
Ubisoft. I make that mistake too.
Ubisoft.
Just stop.
And then the last, not really follow-up, but just interesting bit of news is that this fall, Netflix is going to launch in Japan for the first time. Rolling out there because they're looking to globally completely roll out in every country, every major country, by next year.
Whoa! That is cool.
I'm just surprised they didn't have Netflix before this. Like, what have they been doing?
Watching TV.
Yeah, but now they can watch more TV and movies.
But you don't understand. The otaku generation has had this under control for a while. Okay,
all right.
They record everything, and they're immediately like, get this online, everyone needs to see it, and I need to feel like the badass who gave it to everybody, because they like, portray themselves as these weird otaku heroes with big ol' egos. It's true, and this is true. This is true in the tape trading generation, too, because they're like, I don't even... Like, watch Otaku no Video sometimes. They're like, I don't even watch the shows. I have everything set up to record, and, I've got these stacks and stacks and stacks of bootleg recorded TV anime and stuff, and I sell them or I trade them. They have this under control. They didn't ever need Netflix, but Netflix came anyway.
Well, that's good. Now they can catch up on Game of Thrones. Just saying.
I'm pretty sure that it will feature much more Japanese television. Maybe it will feature Game of Thrones. I don't know. I don't pay attention to what my properties, North American properties are doing over in Japan because we have them over here.
Right.
I don't need to know that information.
I'm just thinking, because we were talking about this before the show, if I could proxy log in and then watch their shows, perhaps I could watch a lot more stuff that I would be interested in.
Yeah, but
then you're
Netflix
telling me,
they've been cracking down on this proxy crap.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's not gonna fly nearly as well as it once did.
One can only dream.
Keep dreaming.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. This is gonna be a while, guys.
Okay, so yeah. That's all for the follow-ups. Let's go ahead and get into our first topic.
Okay, Sony, right?
Yes, the one you had on screen when we started.
Yay! Alright, so...
Good job.
So, Sony Online Entertainment this week has sold away from Sony and over to Columbus Nova, an investment company that's only like 15 years old. A company in New York. And they have now changed their name from Sony Online Entertainment to Daybreak Game Company.
Now, as far as I can tell...
I have no idea why you would change your name to Daybreak Game Company. That sounds very boring.
Well, you can't call yourself Sony anymore because you're not owned by Sony.
Yeah, but that's a very unidentifiable kind of name to call yourself. Currently... SOE.com still exists, and they've still not, changed anything about the layout of their website or anything, so
right.
According to SOE.com, you would never know that they got sold or that anything has changed. So, you might recognize certain Sony Online Entertainment games such as EverQuest, EverQuest 2, EverQuest Next, EverQuest Online. Okay, they've done EverQuest. DC Universe Online,
which we played a little bit of.
Yeah, I liked it okay enough.
It's alright.
It's still playable. The PlanetSide games, H1Z1, and a few other, a lot of MMOs. And most of these MMOs, for the most part, have gone free to play with a whole bunch of in-game microtransaction sort of purchases.
Right.
You can still make purchases of EverQuest expansions, of which there are 800 bajillion and 54,092 at this point. I'm just throwing out arbitrary numbers. There's a friggin' lot of EverQuest expansions because it's been out for
ages.
For like decades at this point. Still looks ugly as ever, but people still play it, I guess. I mean, they still leave the server up. However, actually, like as recently as last year or maybe a little longer ago, they finally dropped all the servers for EverQuest Online Adventures, which was that PS2 MMO that, like, nobody was friggin' playing it, so it makes sense that they were dropping it, but, clearly, as you can see, the MMO universe, as far as Sony Online Entertainment is concerned, is, not doing fantastically well. So...
Basically, that's to say that Sony, in a way of saying this, made a quick buck selling it.
And actually, as I'm looking at an article in Fortune, on Fortune's website, about Sony having sold SOE, it looks like Sony stocks have gone up ever so slightly recently.
Well, because think about it, that's the first logical, smart decision they've made in, I don't know how many months.
Yeah. It would, in fact, look like, what they are saying is, unfortunately, free-to-play is growing most rapidly on phones and tablets, and SOE wasn't there because those aren't really core Sony products. And so SOE didn't support any of Sony's consumer electronics businesses, so it was easy to sell. So basically, their games are not in the places where people are playing games anymore, I guess is what they're
because...
saying.
Any, MMO you think of, like it even mentions here in the article, Blizzard's outdoing them without even a breath,
Yeah, they could sneeze on a CD-ROM and then sell it and do better than Sony Online has been doing over the past at least 5 years, if not longer. They notoriously killed off the fantastic MMO Star Wars Galaxies, which was so well known for just being a really unique MMO experience and a really unique, immersive way of playing in a Star Wars universe. And then they had an update one day and they scrapped their entire model and they made it play like exactly like every other MMO they'd ever developed, and everyone hated it and it died. It died hard. I imagine somebody out there still has like a fan-run server of some variety, which surely that exists because Star Wars fans are like freaky like that rapidly with consumers.
Now, I'm thinking about this, because before on the show we've talked about a lot of the bad press, the bad decisions that Sony has made up until now. You think this is just one of a few sales they're going to be having to make in the next couple of weeks, months, just to kind of make money back?
Oh, entirely possible, I would imagine.
Because that's the first thing I thought of when you showed this to me. I'm like, oh, well, they're trying to make some money back.
Oh, and it's kind of funny. I was just kind of scrolling through my Facebook timeline, and I liked EverQuest Online. And they have this post on, hey, what was your first memory of joining into EverQuest? And they're like still trying to play it off like, nope, we're still here, guys. You remember us? Come back.
Please.
Oh, God, please come back.
Well, no, I'm too busy with the Old Republic. I'm too busy with Warcraft. I'm too busy with any number of...
I'm too busy with Final Fantasy XIV, which is about to have, like, the most amazing looking expansion that I've ever seen.
Yeah, so...
And now, Sony, or I should say, Daybreak Game Company, their head dude, director guy, blanking on his name right now, it's in the article, is saying he's looking forward to creating games for Xbox. So I guess they're looking to go produce console games, which is very, very sudden, considering all they ever did was PC stuff that sometimes ported over to, like DC Universe Online ported over to PS3,
right.
It's so funny. Sometimes I still see, like, PC copies of DC Universe Online in their boxes selling at Walmart, and I'm like, I can just download this for free. Why would I do this?
No, I know. We've been there looking at it. It's like, but I downloaded this for free. I got to level 8 like that. Like, that wasn't even a problem.
Yeah, well, in most MMOs, leveling up to level 10 is like, hey, we made it easy for you so that you get suckered in. Now comes the hard part.
Right. But even then, with something like... Specifically with DC Universe Online, I'm remembering when we were playing it at first, and yeah, it's pretty fun, it's the same sort of thing, like, oh, you get to play with your favorite heroes, and hey, look over there, there's Robin, and look over there, there's the Flash, and it's great. Stay.
But then it gets very repetitive, as a lot of MMOs do.
Right.
And, the idea of the customization kind of wears off after a while. It just isn't that cool to me.
Right.
I just kind of dropped it. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna play this again for a while. Like, maybe I would try it again sometime in the future, but maybe I would play a villain or something. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe I'd be a douche. I don't know.
Oh, like you play the nice Sith in the Old Republic or the douche Jedi?
Yeah, that's amazing. That is a fantastic way to play that game. And no matter what you do, like, even if I'm the nicest Sith ever, the Sith Lords are still gonna be like, alright, I will continue to let you be my apprentice for now. They're not gonna drop me, because the story says they can't.
So you're going to... What was it? It was Darth Rutledge.
Darth Rutledge, the nicest Sith in the galaxy.
Whatever happened to that nice Rutledge boy? Oh, he's a Sith now.
Oh, well, good for him.
Good for him.
He's really getting up there in rank, too. Yeah. I hear he might have an apprentice of his own one day.
Oh, well, good things are happening for that kid. Good for him. So, yeah, as far as I can tell, this is just Sony cutting bait to make up for loss of capital. I wait to see what the next thing is they sell off. Spider-Man!
That would sure be nice.
I'm sorry. I have hopeful allergies.
Hopeful allergies.
Hopeful allergies.
That's how you're approaching
Yeah,
it.
that's how I'm gonna play that.
All right.
I think we're done there.
Okay.
So, moving on to our second story. The other thing, since we were already talking about DC heroes, we're going to talk about the Titans.
Yeah. Probably not all these Titans.
Probably not all of these guys. So, TNT has let out their information on who is going to be their initial roster for the Titans series that will be airing on their network. Of course, this isn't acting. This is just the characters we're going to be dealing with. So, first and foremost, we're going to have Dick Grayson, who will be starting out as Robin, but over the course of maybe the first season or the show, he will transition into Nightwing.
I think that's pretty cool.
That's fine. A little closer there, also a member of the Teen Titans, Starfire is going to be part of the Teen Titans. That's fine. People are used to Starfire from, of course, the cartoon. People, of course, fans of her from the comics. After Starfire, we've got Raven, also a member people recognize. Yes, good. There's plenty of storyline there. Then we get to the not so common ones. We have Barbara Gordon in pretty much, without saying, in her Oracle role, which is kind of like, okay, I mean, we know, Dick, that's fine. It's just, you're not really a member of the Titans so much. But
is she approximately their age range?
She would be, yeah.
Yeah, alright.
Give or take, depending on what events have already happened. I guess if she's Oracle, the events with the Joker have already happened. So, there you go there. And then the kind of, additions to the team are Hawk and Dove, the Hank Hall and Dawn Granger versions of the characters, who are going to be the romantic pairing, that they're going to push the romance of the series.
Yeah, I don't know those guys.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
I mean, how frequently do they show up?
Well, the thing about it is, you've seen iterations of them. I want to say in, well, I mean, they're prevalent, of course, in the comics. They were, a form of Hawk and Dove were important in, Brightest Day. From the Green Lantern storyline there. But aside from that, as far as mass media is concerned, which is really where we come from with these stories, a lot of people don't know who they are. So they're going to be the intro characters. Like, hey, we might see through these guys' eyes.
Okay.
Now, as such, there's a lot of people asking, well, where's everybody else? Where's Cyborg? Where's Beast Boy? Where's Terra? Where are all these other characters? Where's Kid Flash? And the problem is, which goes without saying, a lot of these characters, a lot of other networks, or even Warner Brothers themselves for the movies, have already kind of called dibs on.
They've called, rights dibs?
Basically, yes. Like, Kid Flash, CW has already called dibs because that character, from the looks of it, they already have plans to have him show up in The Flash.
I see.
So that makes sense. Speedy, who we also know as Arsenal, he's already on Arrow.
Oh,
so
is he?
Yeah.
No, I don't watch Arrow, so.
Well, I do, and, it's getting so good. Point being, Arsenal is already there on Arrow, been there since last season, so he's spoken for. Cyborg, DC Cinematic Universe, they're already calling dibs on him for Justice League, and not quite Justice League before that. So, what are we going to do there? And, yeah, that's kind of the problem. People already know these characters, and it would be... We're not going to get a crossover.
Well, not if they're going to be on, two completely separate networks.
Exactly.
The networks would not have that.
Right.
The networks hate each other.
It's already one thing in and of itself that Warner Brothers would allow there to be two Flashes, which, to me, just to comment on that for a second, leads me to believe that Ezra Miller is going to be playing Wally West, separate from Grant Gustin playing Barry Allen. We're going to separate our Flashes out. Maybe they could stick in Impulse, get the Bart Allen version in Titans if they want to work that angle, but, only time will tell on that. But as far as that's concerned, how is this going to work out for them? Is this going to be a good team? Well, you've already got 3 characters that people are familiar with, 4 if you count Barbara.
Okay.
People are aware of, Oracle from, of course, the Arkham games. People know her as Batgirl from any other piece of DC animated media. People are still trying to learn about Robin still. You know, we haven't yet gotten a good grasp on Nightwing.
Mm-hmm.
As far as live action is concerned, the closest we ever got was Chris O'Donnell, basically in Nightwing's costume in Batman and Robin.
But not going by Nightwing.
And then, of course, the throwaway line in Batman Forever. I need a superhero name. Batboy, Nightwing. Oh, haha, I see what you did there. Funny. And then there you go. And then I'm thinking about this whole thing, the love angle with Hawk and Dove. Like, okay,
Hawks and doves don't breed, for one thing, alright? Let's get this straight right now. Science will prove to you that... I get that this is a superhero series, but look.
Oh, here we go.
But look, Hawk... a hawk, like, looks like, I don't know. Yeah, like, give me a dart. Like, a dove looks like this. And a hawk looks like this. And this ain't, like, this is gonna get eaten. Like this, bloop. Like, this is...
You just had Godzilla poop out a Nerf dart to prove your point about hawks and doves not working out.
It's not gonna happen.
Thank you. Thank you. I needed that. But as far as that's concerned, like, oh, you're saying that's going to be what pushes the love portion. Okay, have we completely forgotten about the fact that Dick is or has been romantically involved with both Oracle at one point? You know, they dated, him and Barbara.
Oh, that I wasn't aware of.
And he has an ongoing thing with Starfire, which of course was hinted
that
at
I'm aware of.
in Teen Titans. So you think about that, like, why do we need this love angle when we've already got a perfectly good love triangle over here? Like, that's season 1 right there. You can just wrap that up in a bow and give it to people and they'll eat it up. That's not even a problem. So, I don't know, like, I'm still not quite sold. I mean, on the one angle, it's like, I'm happy that, these characters are getting a chance to be made flesh,
Mm-hmm.
But by that same token, like we were talking about a while back, don't you think that the live-action superhero market is starting to get a little oversaturated?
Yeah, we've had this discussion before, and I'm especially concerned once we get up to Marvel's movie madness over the next few years, like, oh, market's gonna say we've had enough. Maybe we should get to things like, I don't know, magic. I'm saying, like, everything's gonna be about magic. Like, we've done a lot of space stuff recently. We've done a lot of superhero stuff. Now we need... I mean, I know we had Harry Potter for a while, but we're sorely lacking in magical properties.
No, I don't think. I think they're gonna keep milking this one.
Oh, okay, no, wait. Hear me out.
Okay.
What if we do a whole bunch of movies about different areas of tropical regions of the world, and people are living there, and they're interacting with the animals, and there's gotta be something other than superheroes. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, I just want to let you know you're basically describing Lost, okay? And we've done that. It's been done.
Lost was one TV series
that had tropical areas and people interacting with...
Did it have Arctic region? It had a polar bear.
It had a polar bear.
But did the polar bear actually live in an Arctic region? Or did it just show up?
It just showed up, but then...
Because I didn't watch Lost.
I'm sorry. But point being, as far as this is concerned, we like other characters. I see some people asking, well, where's Beast Boy? Beast Boy, nobody's called dibs on. I'm hoping that they're going to stick him in around season 2.
Uh-huh.
Because, Beast Boy's a fan favorite character. People liked the rendition they saw on Teen Titans for many years. He was starting to be a good character on Young Justice. I'm still pissed that they canceled that.
Oh yeah, everybody is. Warner Brothers Animation is pissed that they canceled Young Justice.
And to me, it's like, I'll put it this way. I know the difference. I would sooner take...
You know the difference between a hawk and a dove?
No, I would sooner take season 3 of Young Justice than I would this show.
Our show?
No, not our show. Titans. Because at least there, I know it had a good head on its shoulders. They knew where they were going. They understood their characters. Mm-hmm. And it gave me something to believe in as far as, you know what, this show is worth watching. They've proven themselves. Here, you got to start from square one, and I'm already, starting to kind of wonder, I don't know if you're making the right decisions here.
Well, we'll see. We'll wait and see and find out.
Probably once we get around to, like, casting and, you know, costume design, then probably that'll push me a little further in one direction or the other. But for now...
I can't judge yet.
Yeah, admittedly, we can't judge just yet. Bring back season 3, come on. Alright, point being. Last story, yes. Not the last story, but this last story.
He's making a video game reference, guys, don't worry about him. So, poor, sad Radio Shack.
Poor, sad, nobody's been in there for several years. That's where you go to hide a body because nobody goes in there.
Except for Chris, apparently, because he does all of his phone dealings at Radio Shack.
Okay, well...
Let him have it.
Well, no, not anymore. Bankrupt.
Well, okay, let's see exactly what this bankruptcy entails. So,
okay, all right.
Yes, Radio Shack finally, after all of these years, like 94 years, I guess, has filed for bankruptcy. As I was saying at the top of the show, it's a little more stunning that they held out this long than it is that they're actually going bankrupt. Kind of like Blockbuster. You know, like, were you really surprised that Blockbuster went bankrupt?
Right.
You know, it kind of feels like that.
Well, see, I'll say this much, the difference between Blockbuster and Radio Shack. If we're talking about, you know, old hat, you know, the old guard, I should say, having to give over to the new era. At least as far as Blockbuster is concerned, a lot of their failure can be attributed to the idea that they were trying to hold so hard to old media and not embracing digital distribution and the internet.
Oh, and they totally had an opportunity with Redbox style kiosks, and they had the chance to jump on that, and then they didn't take it.
They passed on it.
Then when they finally did it, because they did finally start doing it,
it was too little, too late.
It was too late. Redbox had already completely taken over. It was over. It was over for them. But as far as Radio Shack is concerned, you know, for the odd and end thing that you needed, Radio Shack was always there. Not in such high quantities anymore, but they were still kind of there.
Well,
I think the one Radio Shack that shockingly was in Canyon Lake, Texas, of all places, the place where I grew up that had like maybe a few thousand people living in it, had a friggin' Radio Shack, and I'm like, how is it still here when everything else around it dies and then something else comes up in its place and it doesn't matter what it is? How does Radio Shack, of all things, continue to remain here? It was like they were cockroaches and they were surviving nuclear holocaust. It was bizarre.
Well, because you think about it, like, I'm having to put it in that same bracket as remembering, you know, stores that have gone under, you know, as we've gotten older, like
Circuit
City, KB2. You know, like, I'm thinking about places that I visited as a kid. Mm-hmm. As a kid, I loved going into Radio Shack because I'm remembering back then Radio Shack was the place you went.
All the RC place.
Right, they had so many RC cars back then, and trucks and remote controlled boats. Like, that was where you went for remote controlled stuff.
I still remember to this day a commercial from Radio Shack during the holiday season, and it was a whole bunch of people like lining up to beg members of their families for stuff off of their wish list for stuff at Radio Shack, and one guy is sitting there staring at the camera going, "Come on, you know how much I love cars, please." That memory makes me laugh every single time. So, yeah, RC cars, man. RC cars and little helicopters, holy crap.
Yeah.
Holy crap, so many RC things.
But as time has gone on, that's been basically outsourced to your regular Toys R Us, Target, Walmart.
Drones are taking over.
Drones, yeah. You can go to hobby shops now, other hobby shops, and they basically took that away.
They're saying that the Radio Shack brand is not going away and it won't be a liquidation like Circuit City or Linens and Things. I didn't know Linens and Things was gone. I just didn't ever care enough to pay attention, I guess. The idea is to give a certain square footage to Sprint in its stores in areas where Sprint doesn't already have presence. So they're gonna turn Radio Shacks into Sprint stores?
Basically.
Which I thought in our areas they kind of already were.
Well, because admittedly they've been pushing more, we have accessories for your phones, we have certain things. Like you were bringing up, we have a friend who goes to Radio Shack to take care of their phone business there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that makes sense. You know, if you can't get on your own, you get somebody to help you carry the load. And with Radio Shack, that's what Sprint does for them.
Yeah.
But as such, you know, they're still going to be your hobbyists, your tinkerers, your... Man, I really need to replace this LED. Where can I go? Oh, there's Radio Shack. It's still there after all these years. You know, and really, I'm thinking about it. Every Radio Shack that I know has, in fact, been there since I was a kid. Like, they've stood the test of time.
Somehow. Which is shocking, because I'm looking at some of these numbers, right? And, where was this big old number? The company reported a net loss of $633 million in the 12 months ended in November. So,
like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. 46% below where it was in 2010.
That's close to half.
Big old losses. Monstrous losses. And this is really sad, too, because I really loved Weird Al's commercial that was just made a couple months back for Radio Shack.
I forgot he did that.
That was a fun commercial.
That was a fun commercial.
That's because it was Weird Al, not because it was Radio Shack, though.
Yeah. Well, Al's a man who could appreciate Radio Shack.
Do you have batteries? Batteries?!
that was actually good. It was good. But as such, you know, the major star power of Weird Al Yankovic isn't enough to save Radio Shack.
Nope, and we're talking about the guy who had a #1 album, and it was a comedy album, and it was the first time a comedy album had been #1 in like 60 years.
Yes.
So, Radio Shack, you're not doing so hot. Clearly, because you're bankrupt.
Now you're bankrupt.
But it's kind of sounding like they're leaving stores open because, like, bankruptcy...
Well, they just said no liquidation, so they're not going to just shut everything down.
Yeah, because bankruptcy... I think a lot of people don't necessarily have a good, clear idea of what bankruptcy means. It does not actually mean the end is nigh. It means that they've talked to banks to help them kind of start from absolutely nothing.
Right.
Meaning that they're hoping they can kind of crawl their way back up.
Bankruptcy is step 1 of the 12-step program. Bankruptcy is admitting you have a problem.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So as such, this is Radio Shack admitting we have a problem. And our problem is no one is here.
And I guess they think that Sprint is going to save them? Like, how well is Sprint doing? That's actually something I don't know from any of this information. I can't imagine turning them into Sprint headquarters. Like, I can go to the Sprint store. I would rather go to the Sprint store to deal with Sprint problems.
Right.
Quite frankly.
We're on Sprint, right?
Yes, we're on Sprint.
Okay.
Sprint mobile to mobile.
We're not getting any money for that.
No, sorry.
I wish. No. But you think about it, how are they going to save their store? It's got to be more than adding Sprint. They've got to do more than that. Mm-hmm. If they could take back the reins, if it were at all possible, of, you know, the RC cars and that, if they could get younger kids going in there, you know, a different demographic, basically. Because the phone demographic, that's basically anybody 13 and up. Mm-hmm. You know, if you get kids back in there, like back in the day, it was easier to have the adults shop around different parts and be like, you know what, I could use a better something or other for my TV and things like that.
So you're thinking turn it back into, like, half of it being an electronic toy store.
Perhaps.
Maybe. But considering this is a generation of kids who would rather be using smartphones and tablets, I just feel like that's gonna be hard. It's gonna be real hard.
No, admittedly, you're right. And
that's not Radio Shack's fault. Changing their business model would kind of mean changing their identity. Like, they wouldn't be Radio Shack anymore if they weren't selling LEDs and cables and wires and copper lines, and they wouldn't be Radio Shack. And well, that's the thing, like like, people still need the products that Radio Shack sells. It's just that there's not a whole heck of a lot of those same kind of people
Well, okay,
anymore.
what about this? What if they kept what they have, but market it to a different audience?
How would they do that?
Well, basically, talking about all the stuff that, diodes and LEDs and things like that, things people use for advanced cosplay. If you could market those things, maybe perhaps offer, I don't know, if you have room now because, there's a lot of stuff you're not moving, perhaps a demonstration of, hey, this is how you really easily wire up some LEDs for this prop, and then market to people who would be like, you know what, that looks really easy. I could make my costume look a little better.
That's really cool and all, and I would agree, like, that would be a cool demographic. It's just cosplay is not, like, a huge enough demographic to save Radio Shack. I'm sorry.
It's an idea.
It is an idea. However, you also think about it, even at conventions, getting a cosplay guest will not save an anime convention. Cosplay is not a big enough thing to save anybody.
Well, no, but it is big. You can't deny that it's big.
It's getting there. It's still,
growing.
Growing is one thing. Big is another. You have to realize just because we are kind of in these circles, that does not mean it's big. If you go to, if you start trying to talk cosplay to your coworkers, what are they gonna think?
It depends on the coworker. Like, if it's to my managers who are cool, who know what I'm talking about.
Josh, I'm not talking about, like, the people you're buddies with. I'm talking about you're trying to start up a conversation with your general coworker that you come home to me and you tell me about, these normal people who complain about this, that, and the other thing that I don't care about. You tell me what they're gonna think about cosplay. Or if whether or not they even know the term cosplay and they just think it means costume and you just are that freak that wears costumes on days that aren't Halloween.
Point being,
they're not gonna save Radio Shack.
Okay, fine.
It's not a big enough thing to save Radio Shack.
Then you tell me, Smarty Pants, how do you get them in there and save Radio Shack?
I don't know! The day of Radio Shack is over!
You don't have to put it like that. They were just admitting they have a problem. Now you're pronouncing them dead.
It's over. I'm not saying I'm happy, I'm sad.
You wanted that RC car, didn't you?
I did. I really wanted, what was it, the Bigfoot?
I remember the Bigfoot RC. I remember that.
Or the RCs that, what were the ones that you could drive them and then you'd drive them into a wall?
I was just about to... Then they'd flip back over and you could still drive them
the
other way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted those too.
I remember that one in specific. Or they used to have a pretty good motorcycle RC car. It had basically training wheels on the other side. That way it couldn't tip over. But it was basically not too unlike, not to give away something I've been working on, but basically this basic shape, and yes, that's colored to be like the Famicom, right? But it was basically like this, and it had the training wheels here on the back wheels, and they couldn't really tip over. And I remember trying one out when I was like 6, 7 there in the store, and they would let you do it back then. They would let you try it out and, bump into adults' feet. And then my mom would be like, okay, put that up, we gotta go. And I never got it.
At least you played with it.
At least I played with it. That's the important part. At least I played with it.
Poor Radio Shack.
Poor Radio Shack, yeah.
So...
time to pour one out for Radio Shack onto the cat.
Please just drink it.
Yeah, I'll just drink it.
Alright, I think we've about reached end of time for episode.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so if you are here in the chat with us right now, please stick around because we're going to do another half hour of Q&A time with you guys and with us. And if you're not live with us right now, you should be next week. We're live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central over on hitbox.tv/MarsGirl. It's always a fun time, and you get to hang out with cool people who are talking about the stuff we're talking about while we're talking about it.
Yes, and during the week, if you guys want to talk to us or have potential story ideas, you can always hit us up on Twitter. I'm at JoshKnight1st.
And I'm at MarsGirl.
So that having been said, this has been this week's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you next week.
Night!